Hello, everyone. Node Investor here. Welcome back to another edition. Today, guys, we got a busy day with news, with crazy action in the market, with Coinbase going down. What is going on out there, folks? I hope you've been paying attention. I hope you're keeping up with everything. This is exciting, but starting to feel like some crazy times right now. So let's get to it. Total market cap $78 billion, guys. 78 billion. Bitcoin coming in at $2,200. Has that sunk in yet? $2,200 Bitcoin. Ethereum, $178 right now. So we're going to look at the charts of Ethereum. I've got to talk about Ethereum quite a bit, but that one honestly really surprised me. I was expecting it to break out, but these things move quickly here. Ripple 29 cents, NEM 25 cents, Litecoin 25.80. A lot of you guys are asking about Litecoin. We'll look at that. Dash $138 Dash. Dash broke out today beautifully. We'll definitely dig into Dash. Ethereum Classic moving up with Ethereum $10.13. Bitcoin. Bitcoin kind of came out of nowhere, guys. I'm not going to look at it today, but wow, Bitcoin. Monero moving up. There was a lot of big news in the privacy coins today. Zcash blew up today, literally. Stellar Lumens, 5 cents. Kind of just sitting tight, pulling back a little bit because of Ripple. I told you guys, Ripple goes down, Stellar Lumens go down. Ripple goes up, Lumens go up. And we'll stop there at the top 10. Zcash, of course, we'll look at that. So let's, before we jump into the charts, look at some news. If you're not aware or if you haven't heard yet, Consensus 2017 is underway. If you go to Coindesk.com, you can look at the live streaming, you can look at the agenda, get a lot of good information there. It's just that time of the year where news comes out, announcements, partnerships. One of the big ones today was JP Morgan partners with Zcash on blockchain security. That literally caused Zcash to go up 200% in a couple of hours before it finally pulling back. But that's the kind of news that comes out that just really shakes markets right now. Ethereum had their conference this weekend as well. The Enterprise Ethereum Alliance adds 86 members, so Ethereum is just fundamentally a very strong project, has a bright future ahead of it, and that's partly what's driving a lot of this price action. Another thing with Shapeshift today was really cool. This Prism digital asset portfolio product. Look into this article here. This is really fascinating stuff. It's kind of like it's a derivative of cryptocurrency in a way, but it's all based on Ethereum in a way to create a portfolio on the blockchain. So really fascinating stuff, guys. So definitely look into that. Another thing that happened today, Coinbase. Guys, you're listening at Coinbase, guys. Come on, seriously. Every time the market gets crazy, Coinbase goes down. What is going on? So for the newbies out there, let this be a lesson. So I did an interview with a Bitcoin dealer a couple of weeks ago, and he had a line that was just perfect. He said, not your keys, not your coins. And what that means is when you use a service like Coinbase, which there's a lot I really like about Coinbase, but when you use a service like Coinbase, you are trusting a third party to hold and keep your assets safe, and which they probably will. But think about it this way. Coinbase was down for all day and started late last night, and it's been down for almost 24 hours before it came up. Can you imagine the havoc if Wells Fargo or Bank of America or any of those large banks went down for a whole day and you couldn't access your account and you couldn't use your debit card? I mean, that's just insane. So I get it. This is a new industry. This is very early on, but guys, just be careful out there. Coinbase, I was glad to see that it was finally back up. I checked right before recording this, and it was up, and everything seemed to be functioning. They did have an error saying that you probably still couldn't buy with a debit or credit card, but hopefully Coinbase has passed that issue there. All right, let's look at some charts here. So I'm going to start with Ethereum. let's backtrack just a little bit here. First time I started calling out Ethereum was way back here in the $50 range. And I know that's a long time ago. That's history. We're $170, $180. I get it. But guys, look at this base. There was a big breakout, which now looks very tiny. Quick run up at that point, all the way to $80, $90, and started building out this nice consolidation. Things started getting a little haywire and other things. Litecoin blew up, and then Ripple, and then things, and Ethereum was just kind of sitting tight, coiling up very nicely. I called it out on one of my newsletters a couple weeks ago, saying Ethereum is the strongest of the bunch, and it was sitting at around, it was about right here. So this was at 87 a couple weeks back. It looked like it wanted to move up, and then it had this pullback, a little bit of sell off here. It's hard to see. Let me zoom in on this. But you can see that little tail down there. That's a hammer candle, basically. I don't want to get too technical here, but the volume was high. Even though it's a red candle, that's support. That's a lot of buyers showing up when they try to sell it off. And then it broke out. And I said 95 really was the breakout area. And you can see this huge volume here. And it blew right past 95 and quickly shot up to $106. And just really started to move fast from that point. And now we are at $170, $180. It's been very volatile up here. We saw some big selling showing up, brought it all the way back to 130. I think a lot of that was Coinbase and the craziness going on there, but holding these moving averages. So now what? So I got some questions on the Twitter today. Is it too late to buy Ethereum? Should I buy Ethereum right here? And guys, first off, I can't tell you what you guys should do. I can't tell you if you should buy Ethereum. I don't know your time horizon. I don't know anything about your financials, and even if I did, I am just not legally obligated to tell you what to do with your money. And you guys know that. Would I buy Ethereum here? I'm going to be clear. I am not buying Ethereum here. It's just very risky. Now, I'm not saying sell it. I'm not saying it's not going to go higher. Heck, it could be at 200 when we wake up tomorrow. And it certainly looks like it wants to do that. But the thing is, this is what I'm trying to teach you guys here. Look for the bases. Be patient. Wait for the setups to happen. And I know we're really spoiled right now because these things are blowing up and they're like 5xing and 10xing in a matter of weeks. And so when you have to sit through Ethereum basing for 2 weeks, it feels like an eternity. And I get it. But once it breaks out, those are the signals, and you jump on before it gets too far ahead. And once it's up here in the 170, 180 and all the excitement's there, it's kind of too late, guys. I mean, you could get on here, and longer term, I believe Ethereum is going to be probably one of the best out there, and it's probably going to be higher than this. But near term, could it go down? Could it come all the way back to 110, 120? Absolutely. I mean, anything can happen. So that's why I'm saying wait for the bases. Everyone was asking, should I buy it here? You could have, and now you're being sitting okay, but you don't know what's going to happen. If you would have bought it at 97 and it drops to 76, would you have panicked? Would you have sold? Right? So that's why you want to wait for a little bit of a setup and then wait for it to blow up and then wait for it to consolidate again and look for another entry point. And so that's how you do this. And where it's going now, it's anyone's guess at this point. Someone asked me, could it hit 200 by the end of the month? I told them I didn't expect that to happen, but heck, markets are going to do what they want to do. And so I do see a little froth, a little exuberance out there. We'll see what happens after consensus and this whole conference, and maybe things decide to settle in a little bit, but who knows? Let's look at Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, just beautiful, just super strong, steady Eddie. There's nothing to complain about Bitcoin ever since that low in the 900 range has just been moving up nicely. It had a couple little pullbacks here, tightened up a little bit. It looked like it wanted to settle in a little, but it didn't really take too long. It rested for a couple of days, and now it's going again. At this point, there's really nothing negative about it. Again, today was very volatile. When I started seeing these big bars here, I did get a little nervous. I said, hey, Bitcoin's going way up and then selling off and coming way down on huge volume. Those are typically signs of some distribution at the top. A little bit of a warning sign, but it seems to be holding the moving averages for now. So really nothing to worry about until you see some of those break, and we might just consolidate again or come back in. But look at that chart. Bitcoin, super strong. Let's look at Dash. So I sent out an update today in the newsletter. If you missed that, sign up, nodeinvestor.com, right on the homepage. I will send out updates as I see them happening. But Dash, here's what I'm looking at Dash. Let me go to the dailies because this is a little bit of a learning lesson as well here. So Dash has really been sitting tight. So it had the big run up starting in February from $17 and just incredible run up. Took it well past 100 to 115, $20 before it just settled down. And then it had the correction. Look how far back it pulled in. It went from $120 back to $45. Would you have held through that? You got to ask yourself those kind of questions because that's how this market is. And if you're not comfortable with that, you're going to be crazy, going crazy, stressed out over all the volatility. So I'm not sure if I could have held through that, to be honest. I mean, from 120 to $45 is a huge pullback. Now, what it ended up doing though is pulling back and look at the very low of the formation here, which is this base here. Volume was almost the highest it's been in this formation. That is a great sign. So I looked at that. You took note, right? You don't necessarily buy on that, but you take note of that. And then it just started kind of inching up and pulled out and retested this blue zone, which proved to be an area of resistance, popped up again. And when it started to pull back here a little bit, I put it on the radar, started talking about it again on the newsletter. I took it off this chart, but there was another trend line forming across the bottom here. And I said, Dash is kind of at a juncture. If it's going to break up or down, it's going to have to do it really soon. This was last week. I was waiting for it. And then it started to break down a little bit. And it looked like, well, I guess Dash doesn't want to go up. It's gonna crack here a little bit. But they popped it right back up. And then today, with some news, shot it right past that $9,500 mark and well into the 145 range before pulling back a little bit. But that's a clean breakout, guys. That's a nice breakout. So let's zoom in on that a little bit. Here's what you want to see on Dash, or here's what you do not want to see on Dash. This area that had previously served as a resistance zone should now serve as a support zone, meaning it was trying to crack above it, trying to crack, and when it finally did go above it, every time it pulls back in, it better hold this zone, and more particularly, it better hold this lower end of the zone, which is around $104. You do not want to see Dash fall back below that, or this will negate this breakouts, and we've seen the failed breakouts, as we call it. But this was, let me zoom out again. This was a beautiful cup and handle formation. And what you like to see on the handle when it pulls back a little bit is this really quiet volume like we saw. So all the signs were there. The RSI, if you follow that, was starting to inch up a little bit. So everything was looking good, like a good setup. Finally broke out today. So I'll tell you guys an interesting story. So I did add some Dash to my portfolio today following the breakout, but I had actually added some Dash over the weekend, and I saw my Ethereum holdings really grow, so I said I'm going to move some of that out and add some Dash, and then I said, oh, that was a mistake. I mean, I still have a lot. It was a tiny portion of the Ethereum, but put some into Dash, and then I was thinking, maybe Dash wasn't ready yet, and then saw the big move up this morning. Said, okay, it was ready, and then added some more in the breakout. So you just never know, right? When you're seeing Ethereum go up to $180 and Dash sitting there, you're going, wait a minute. But it was a good move. So Dash, I believe, is breaking out here. How high will it go? It's anyone's guess. Let's see where it's at on the market cap right now. $1 billion, 138. Somebody asked me, is that who do you see next going into the $1 billion club? I called Dash, and I said basically $137 Dash would take you to $1 billion. We are there now. That was only 30-some% move, which basically did in one day. Could it go to $2 billion? Yes, very easily. That would put you to just over $200 Dash. So just to give you some context there, Dash is very strong, and I'm not saying it's going to $2 billion. It's certainly not going to go to $2 billion this week, but that's where it could go, and this is a powerful setup here. So if the breakout holds, yeah, you could see Dash at the high 100s, maybe $200 mark here in the coming weeks. But that's just me, my opinion. Of course, anything can happen. Bitcoin and Ethereum and everything could decide to correct sharply here, and that would pull Dash back in, I guarantee you. So, Litecoin, everyone's asking about Litecoin. Litecoin, what happened? It's going sideways. What do we do? Um, like I said, guys, we're a little spoiled here, so let's put some context in here. Litecoin was $4 at the end of March, April, right? So what, 2 months ago? Litecoin was $4. Let that sink in. And it literally 10x'd almost 38, $39 by May 10th. That was SegWit day. Has since pulled back. Now I've got the Fibonacci retracement zones here, and I'm going to call that right after this last breakout around $15, $16. And I believe this is the first breakout I was calling here in the high 15. So this bar is the Coinbase day, as we'll call it, when Coinbase made the announcement and it broke out. So if we do a Fibonacci retracement from that point up to the very high, it pulled back past this key ratio of 68 or 61.8%, and it went all the way down to the next level, 78.6%, a couple of times, which is around $21, and hit it, held, pulled back up, and right now it's just basing out. It's going sideways, and it would not surprise me to see Litecoin consolidate for another couple of weeks. I mean, you just got to remember it was $4 at the end of March, so we're at $26. Now, I think long-term Litecoin looks good. Would I sell here? Would I buy more here? There's not really anything actionable in the charts. So if you bought on the breakouts, if you bought at this base at 11 or this base at 15, probably not a whole lot to worry about. If you bought up here in the high 30 range, I don't know what to say. I mean, that wasn't really a buy zone per se, but longer term, meaning maybe months or end of year, I think Litecoin will be higher than this price point we're at now. What you do in the meantime, it just kind of depends on where you bought and what your horizon is and what your plan is. If you bought in above the $30 range or the high 20s, you're seeing a paper loss at this point with Coinbase being $24, $25. I think it's going to sit in this range for a little bit, tighten up some, and then proceed to break out. Keep in mind, the all-time high on Litecoin is above $40, $40, $50 range, which it briefly held. And I think ultimately we'll see Litecoin retest those highs. So that's Litecoin. Keep an eye on it. If you want to get in and you're not in on Litecoin, I would wait for a little bit more of a setup here. Nothing actionable yet. What you could see happening here is a little bit of a double bottom. So coming in here, bouncing, it could pull back a little bit more, retest that $20 mark, and then proceed up. Or it could just go sideways, base around like it's been doing with some of the other ones here, kind of like how it did back here, just kind of sat around for a couple of weeks. So that's really what I expect Litecoin to do, just kind of tighten up a little bit more here. Couple more before we wrap it up. Ripple, let's look at Ripple. So Ripple has had a little bit of a pullback, and that was not surprising. Remember, Ripple was 3 cents back here in late April and went all the way up to 43 cents. I saw Ripple go up $5 billion market cap in one day, and I said, that's probably it for now, guys, and it looks like that was the right call. It's pulling in a little bit. I don't think Ripple's done per se, but it definitely needed to take a break here. So let's see, it's come down since the top. It's down about 32%, which is a lot, but in crypto land is really nothing, guys. So Ripple's down 32%. Could come down further. Would not surprise me to see it come down to about the low 20s before it decides to bounce. But Ripple was super strong, had all the attention for a long time. Just kind of finally decided to take a pause. Now with Ripple, Stellar Lumens is pulling back too. Stellar Lumens had a really nice setup. Looks like it was ready to rock, but hasn't really done anything. It tried to. You can see it here. Let me delete this this arrow for you guys. So Stellar Lumens had this nice base after the big run up, setting up, tightened up, tried to break out, coiled back in, and set up another little consolidation here, and then just a couple days ago had a nice pop with volume, and I thought that was it. It's probably going to leave the station here, and then they just pulled it right back in. So Stellar Lumens is not ready to go yet, and I think a lot of that has to do with the pullback in Ripple. But Stellar Lumens still looks good. Definitely on my watch list. I'd keep an eye on Stellar Lumens, guys. Let's see what else before we call it. A lot of these smaller altcoins are just kind of really blowing up and very volatile. So you see storage kind of go crazy and then pull back in. Siacoin, there was some news about Poloniex. So when I last covered Siacoin was this little consolidation right here. Went up, pulled right back into those moving averages, was definitely on the radar. So that was the last video I did, and we were talking Siacoin down at these levels, and anything above 250 was going to basically be the breakout, and it did, and look what happened after that. Just a huge blow up on Siacoin, but it has been very volatile as well. There's a lot of news on Poloniex there, so that's what's driving that. Let's see what else we can look at before we call it a day. Golem. So Golem's looking good. Had that pullback. I think when I covered it in the last video, it was consolidating right here, and then we had the big volume move up. It's since pulled back to the moving averages, but Golem's looking good. I mean, it hasn't really broken out against these old highs. It hit resistance there, but can't complain about Golem. Just a little volatile, though. I mean, if you guys don't mind some of this, that's very volatile. Let's see what else. Zcash. Let's look at Zcash. Come on, Zcash. Look at that. So remember, that was the news. JP Morgan. Zcash longer term has just really been looking good. I mean, there was really nothing to worry about. Zcash had this little resistance area in the low 100s area, came back, broke out over the weekend, just barely above it, a couple days or a few hours before the announcement, and then this was the big news that came out on Forbes about the JP Morgan using Zcash, and literally took Zcash over $300 almost instantly, and really kind of had a sharp pullback to the $180 area. Now it's around $200. What would I do with Zcash at this point? It's just really hard to say, guys. I mean, you know, unless you saw this little breakout and you caught it right before the move up, it's really hard to act on that. I mean, that's a news-driven event. It wasn't a long-term technical setup that really was leading to that. So who knows? But when you got somebody as big and powerful as JP Morgan behind one of these, it can continue up higher for a long time. So we'll see what happens with Zcash. Definitely keep an eye on it. But there's certainly an appetite for the anonymous transactions, which the banking institutions are looking at, and that's partly what drove the move to Zcash. So one more, Monero. Let's see, Monero. Monero was on the watch list. I haven't given you guys an update on it lately, but let me see here. Let me pull up another chart. So this arrow here was the last breakout I noticed on Monero. I think that was probably the last time I covered it. It was edging out around 25, pulled back in. I did a short, you know, I don't do a whole lot of trading. A lot of my holdings are more longer term, but I do have a small portion of my portfolio where I'll do some of these shorter term trades. And Monero was one of those. I picked it up, and then I kind of just rode up to around the $30, $31, and then moved out of that into something else. But you know, longer term, Monero is just, it's really good. I mean, it's kind of been one of the quiet ones, moving up really steady. Look at this. I'm going to zoom out a little bit to the daily charts here, but this goes all the way back to $2 Monero, and you'll see a pattern here. Monero has the big run up, then the sharp pullback, a little bit of base, another big run up, then the sharp pullback, another little bit of base, and then a big run up, and then a little bit of a base, and now it's kind of moving up. So Monero's kind of one of those steady climbers, looking good. The technology behind Monero is really good. The wallet's probably not the best, but Monero is just moving up steady. So since that little bit of a breakout, let's see how high Monero has gone. Since that breakout, we're up about 70%. So doesn't look like a big move on the chart, but that's huge. Where else are you going to get 70% other than maybe cryptocurrency? But good luck getting a 70% move up in stock market or anything like that. So Monero has had a nice move, and it's looking good. So that's going to be it for tonight, guys. If you want more information, Hit me up on Twitter, follow me on there, go to the website, and sign up for that free newsletter. And until next time, guys, take care.